Okay,
All right. So,
we are live.
yes. Okay. So, hey guys, happy Saturday. By now, you are so familiar with me, Monique, and my buddy Simon over here.
Hi.
Sometimes we forget to greet you and tell you who we are. It might be your first time with us. So, welcome to Unstoppable Live. Here it is, the end of April. Maybe it's the last weekend in the month, maybe not. But as you know, we are usually presenting from two different places in the world, and that is still true, although we've moved things around a little bit. You can see Simon's in a different location, and I've been in a different location before. So sometimes that happens. But today's topic, I think, is going to be a good one. I think it's a really good one. So, Simon, let me tell them what we've got. Um, Sometimes we can be scared or afraid to try something new. And I feel like I don't have to ask the question. I think it happens to all of us. It happens to everyone that occasionally or even often sometimes, we encounter things and it's like, I don't know how that's going to go. And what we want to do today is to share something with you all that might just help you the next time you're presented with something that is new, different, and maybe a little scary. Simon, do you think that maybe you could share a story that would give us a good context for this?
Yeah, I could try.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
go. Hear it.
Yeah, welcome everybody. So in our little warm-up, we were just chatting and we identified a nice little story which I might want to share with you. And Mo told me to go for it because she said it's very cute.
I did. I called it a cute story. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing that
So
detail.
the reason why it's cute is because many moons ago, um, when from the age of about 5 or 6 years old, actually, I sang in the church choir, in the local church choir. When I first started off, they used to have to put like a little stool behind because I couldn't see over the top of the
Like a
because I
lectern or
couldn't see over the top of the whatever you call it, the
yeah,
where the choir stand. That's embarrassing, isn't it?
that's even
The,
cuter.
the pews, I don't know, whatever you call it. So yeah, I was super duper mega cute, with the little like white thing around the neck, very traditional English all boys church choir. And so I sang there for quite a number of years, and I seemed to be kind of getting quite good at it. And one day they decided that they were going to get me to sing a solo in in the church service. Oh my gosh. Now, I'm not too sure why. I could try and identify a number of reasons, but it just literally scared the living daylights out of me. Whether it was, I can't remember like accurately knowing why it scared me so much, but it did. And it took me it took me a while to kind of come around to the idea. But in the end, I just went ahead and did it anyway. So what happened was that all those nerves of the anticipation of the kind of build up to it, the song would start and the organ would be playing and there would be kind of like all the build up to it. And then as soon as I opened my mouth and started singing, then all the nerves just kind of disappeared. And it wasn't actually as scary as I'd really built it up to be in my mind. And actually from that, what happened was that this became kind of a bit more frequent, and I started singing a few more solos, and eventually I actually went on to represent the church like in a national competition, and I didn't win it, but my kind of level kind of took off from there, and obviously it only really took off and went ahead because I did it. If I'd never have tried, if I'd never have actually, if I'd have given in to the fear and just refused to do it because I was too scared, then none of that would ever really have happened. So yeah, that's my cute story. What do you think, Monique?
It's pretty simple and kind of funny, but I was in the choir too. I think I told you, started when I was
Yeah, we have that in common, don't we?
yeah, but I love how you relate the way you got over that fear. So I don't know. I just want to share with these guys a couple of ideas that I have, because I don't know about you, because it's nice to remember kind of big times when we're scared, but I think there's all these little moments when we're also scared. And it doesn't stop. One of the biggest pieces of like false information I think there is out there is that the people who are doing big, amazing things that we're so impressed with, like pick any person that comes to mind who has done something phenomenal, we would look at them with this awe and think that somehow they were more brave and different than we are.
Mm.
When in actuality, it is not true that people who are successful or who accomplish big things and help to make big change on this planet, that they don't experience fear. Actually, they, if you listen to their stories, will very often share that they were not only afraid, but they were very afraid. And what they did, similar to what you did in the moment that you describe, is that they are afraid and they do that thing that they're compelled to do anyway, right? Like they just start taking the action. And then I think we just notice at that point that when we flip the fear around a little bit and say, how can I just like press into this? Instead of having it make me stop, maybe using it like an indication that this is a place that I'm going to grow or challenge myself or even become better. That in context like that, this is how we really embody what we're talking about with being unstoppable. That maybe we encounter fear, maybe we feel afraid, maybe we have a little doubt or worry, but we just do the thing that we're compelled to do anyway. And what I think that does is it keeps us from being limited by our feelings, right? Like just because we have a feeling of fear, it doesn't mean that, the feeling is right. Feelings aren't always true, is what I think I mean to say. Sometimes the feelings are really not a good indication of whether we're doing the right thing, going the right way, or whether the thing that we want to do will actually go well. So if I had to tell our friends a message, it would be that sometimes fear can really be good, because when you are afraid, it's like a good way to know that you're growing and stretching and maybe even having an opportunity to become better, more unstoppable. Now, I want to insert a little bit of a caveat here and say,
A
I'm not
caveat what?
a caveat,
A caveat. What's a caveat?
a little exception.
Okay.
Thanks for asking me to explain that word. What I would say is that emotions aren't always wrong, right? Fear isn't always wrong. And I'll give you an example. There are times when we know the right thing and the wrong thing in a situation, and we might have the idea come to us to take a wrong action, one that we know would hurt someone, or one that we know would be dishonest, or one that we know would, you know, not be good. not be a good result, not, be the way that we really want to contribute. We can sometimes feel fear in instances like that. And I think that's the one instance. When we're adults, we say, look, we're not talking about don't be afraid when you're being unethical. That's the way adults would describe it. Like when you're breaking the law and hurting other people, we're not using, lean into fear, go for it. But in any other time where you're really growing, expanding, and perhaps really being afraid to try something new, like what we're talking about here, fear is almost like a switch that lets you know you're about to level up. Like it's going to get a little bit better. Maybe it won't be perfect, but you'll have a little more experience. Like Simon, back into your story. Did you ever do any other solos? Did you keep singing? Did you die that day? Like, I mean, you're here, so I guess you didn't die unless you've been, reincarnated. But tell me a little bit about like how it went. You said everything.
I'm a hologram. I'm a hologram.
Did you go on to sing more? Like, what was the end result when you were so afraid, but you did it?
Yeah, so just to go back to what you were saying before, you know, I carried on singing solos, and I would dare say, I would actually dare say that it never particularly got any better.
Mm,
I don't mean I didn't get better at singing. I mean, I don't think I honestly don't think that I ever felt less fear. It's not like I did it the first time and I broke through that and I just kind of like wow,
yeah.
like was never afraid again. I think that it's very true what you were saying that um we could, yeah, definitely in my case, I actually kept on feeling that fear, but I kept on pushing through it. And yeah, it took me to places that, I would never really have dreamed of, you know, of I lived in a very small town in the north of England, and we ended up well, we ended up going down and going down to London to this big competition and anyway, like, oh yeah, I was like on the radio, I was on the TV. Yeah, I think my mum still got all the like
See
VHS
what I mean? Cute, right? Like that's
VHS, cassette recordings of all the interviews and stuff on the radio and on the telly. But yeah, yeah, it didn't really stop. But I realized that when I was actually when I broke through that, when I passed through that and just did it anyway, it really started to take me places. So
Can I add one more thing?
add one more thing.
Hey, I want to add one more thing because we're relaxed and a little bit fast today. So one other thought, like first of all, I feel like I love that you added on that you ended up singing on television, obviously making your mom very proud. She still has recordings of that time. Um, but the other connection that I think is interesting here is that I happen to know you've done some pretty adventurous things in your life. And who knows, maybe what that experience where you didn't ever really get over the fear, but you just enjoyed the singing and, did that part anyway, helped you to be the person that you are, where now you're comfortable. Like you can see fear when it happens. And you have this skill that we're talking about that it's like, oh my gosh, this thing kind of makes me scared. I need to find a way to do it anyway, right?
Mm,
So perhaps it was a stepping stone, a little boy stepping stone to some of the big things that you would do. But the reason that I bring that up is because I would love for these guys to know something that I've heard several really successful individuals say. And it goes a little something like, if the goals that you're setting or the dreams that you have don't scare you a little bit, they might be not big enough. So I almost want to invite you, Simon, to challenge our friends to try testing fear just a little bit. What do you think?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel a bit of a challenge coming on.
Yeah, let's give it to them.
But yeah, before we move into the challenge, I think I'd just like to add myself as well that perhaps, or just introduce maybe a little idea that this fear that we're talking about. And by the way, I loved the way that you just brought in to differentiate between different types of fear. Right now we're just talking about, doing something new that kind of scares us a bit, putting ourselves out there and trying something new. And, I love the way that I won't go over it again, what you were talking about. But I love the way that you brought that into, perhaps, acting differently because we have fear or we're scared about the consequences of what we're going to be doing, and we might be tempted to act a little bit differently. But yeah, let's carry on down our line of of talking about the fear of just trying something new. And oh, we actually we actually had written down on our cheat sheet, which we have here. We have our little cheat sheet
Yeah.
of what we're going to be talking about each week. And we had something big there, which you were really kind of touching on before. And I remember clearly, I don't know whether it's still written anywhere on there. I couldn't find it before when you were talking, but we actually had written on there, fear is a liar.
Oh yeah, that's Grant Cardone right there. Yeah, yeah.
That's a very 10x Grant
It
Cardone
is
thing, isn't it?
very.
And, you know, in the way that we're talking about it, I love that. And another little story, which I'll just very quickly add, is is from another of our mentors who likens the fear to the ghost in Scooby-Doo. This is like one of my favorite stories because my son actually is a real big Scooby-Doo fan. And if you've ever watched Scooby-Doo, you know that every single episode is exactly the same. They
Over,
they
over and over.
Yeah, the crew go out, there's some ghostly, swamp monster or ghost or something, apparition, happening in a certain place, and then Scooby and Shaggy, end up going off and eating a massive Scooby snack or whatever, and then they end up solving the mystery. And the mystery is always that this thing that everybody is super duper mega afraid of, they end up pulling the
Pulling the
pulling
sheet off every
the sheet
episode.
off the ghost. Yeah. And it's just the midget with the two broomsticks underneath.
Somebody in a
Um,
bad mood.
yeah.
Somebody in a bad mood.
And it it's not, it ends up being, just nothing as scary as what people thought it was, as what people thought it was. Anyway, so our challenge this week is to do with what Monique was talking about before. And I really like this phrase, the the fear flip.
You don't like it?
Yeah, I do. I really
Oh,
like
you
it.
do like it. You do like it. I'm
I
like,
do
what?
like it.
I thought we both liked it. Okay.
Yeah.
The fear
I like
flip.
the fear flip.
What's a fear flip?
Yeah. So, well, the fear flip is really thinking about something which we want to, something which, something which we want to do, um, which just scares us a little bit. Perhaps it could be starting a new activity, joining the local karate club. And we see all the people in there who are, black belts and, throwing each other all over the mats. And, it just, it scares us, the idea. because we have to start somewhere always, don't we? We'll go
Hmm.
into that, I'm sure, in one of the weeks coming up.
Hmm.
You know, how we can how we can actually learn and learn and grow, and what the steps are to go through that. But yeah, I think what we'll do this week is we'll set a challenge for our listeners, our watchers, to to perform a fear flip. So
Love
instead
it.
of karate throw, they're gonna
Maybe it's a cartwheel.
they're gonna do a fear flip.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, um, and so imagine something at the moment which which you which which you really want to do, and this sometimes can be the root of our fear as well. It can be that actually, you know, it can be a very good indication that it's something that's quite important to us. And
Hmm.
that's why we're actually feeling this fear anyway, because, you know, it's something that that we really want, that
Yeah.
we've thought about before. Yeah, so I think on when you come and visit us on the inspiration station, we're going to drop a video in there after this, and we are going to ask you to perform this week a fear flip. And it doesn't have to be, you know, we can practice this. It doesn't have to be a huge, you know, thing of joining the local karate club. You know, it can be going to, you know, talk to that, you know, person in your class who's you know, the new guy who's come in, who nobody really knows, and you know, it could be something as simple as that, just that just kind of scares you a bit, but that you know, you can just push through that and just do it anyway. And tell us how you get on.
Yeah.
Tell
I
us how
love
you
it.
get
I've
on.
already got my idea. I know what I'm going to do.
Cool.
I've already got it.
Okay, Monique. I think
So,
it's a good challenge, don't you?
okay, I think that's going to be an awesome challenge. So let's think about wrapping this up. Guys, what I get out of our entire conversation today, and I love this, is perhaps when we encounter fear, especially in instances, big and small, where we're trying something new and we really care about it, like Simon said, or have finally had an opportunity to say Simon said.
Yeah, that's-
I've just been waiting on a chance to say that. Okay. So we have an opportunity to try something new. Perhaps we can already identify that when we do this thing that we're afraid of, that we're going to be smarter, stronger, clearer. Something about us might even improve, or maybe that it will challenge us, right? That perhaps we should just assume the rule that fear doesn't mean stop. Instead, fear means go. Yeah, fear means go. So if we know that fear is a liar, we're not going to stop. We're going to go. And I love Simon's challenge because whatever small action you can take that's in the direction of going seems like a perfect way to handle the fear. Um, so listen, guys, we say this to you every week. We always mess it up. But Simon and I, maybe I shouldn't speak for both of us, but when we try to speak together, it gets a little fudgy. We just already know that you are so bold, you're so brave, and you are go for it, take it.
Unstoppable.
Yes, you are. You are. We believe in you. We see this in you. And we're so excited that we get to come here every week to encourage and inspire you. Thank you so much for joining, for listening, and for taking Simon's challenge to practice flipping your fear and telling us how you get on.
Yeah, tell us how you get on.